Hey, beautiful people. I'm Nicolette Amarillas. I'm a strength coach and a posture and movement specialist, and today I don't want to work out. I don't want to work out. I'm tired. It took an alarming amount of energy to fly. Didn't fly. Definitely not enough energy for that. To walk up 3 flights of stairs to get to my apartment. And when that happens, I reevaluate my plan. My plan was to do 30 minutes of HIIT cardio on the bike. I don't think that's going to happen, although maybe it will after we do this mobility flow. Maybe I'll feel better, like magic. If not, this is at least some type of movement to get into my day. Now, normally when I feel like this, I like to get outside. I like to go on a walk, but it's cold here in New York City, and if I tried to take my dog out right now in this temperature, he would probably murder me in my sleep. So we're going to do some indoor movement. I don't know how long this is going to take, to be honest, but you'll know how long because it'll be time stamped by now. You're welcome. I'm going to do some movements that I love, body weight stuff, mobility stuff, and I hope you enjoy it. Hang out with me. If nothing else, you'll have fun hanging out with me. Or maybe you'll do this and then feel better, and so will I. Yay. Let's go. Okay. We're starting in a seated position. Make sure you're in something comfortable. Doesn't have to be workout clothes. It could be sweatpants. It could be something loose, comfortable. And then you'll need a mat, something soft to lie on. We'll start seated on our glutes. You can put something underneath your hips if you'd like. We're starting off with a seated cat-cow. Hands at the end of the knees. Go into a rounded position of the spine. So tucking in your chin and tucking in your chest here, pulling your back behind you to stretch. And then inhale. Lift your chin, open your chest, stretch forward, and exhale, back. I love doing this one in the morning because my neck is stiff, my chest is stiff. When we're opening the front side of the body, we're inhaling. Exhaling when we're rounding the back. Maybe every time you come down and you tuck in your chin, you bring it a little farther forward to stretch more the back of the body. Let's do one more. Ooh. Okay, let's go into a lateral stretch. So bring one hand down to the side of your body, palm flat, or you can even just like web your fingers. Inhale the other arm up and bring it over to the side of the hand that is on the floor. Now in this position, try and keep your hip on the floor. So the arm that's reaching over, that hip is gonna wanna lift, don't let it. Keep that hip on the floor and then reach. So it's like your hip and hand are reaching in opposite directions. When you do that, you'll feel such a deeper stretch. So maintain that stretch and that elongation of the side that you're reaching away from. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. One more inhale. Keep pushing that hip down, keep reaching that arm. Exhale. Other side. Ooh, it's tight. Inhale. I'm pushing my hand into the floor to encourage my left hip to keep pressing into the floor and then reaching my left arm in the opposite direction. I feel a ton of stretch through my lat, underneath my shoulder. One more inhale. And exhale. Going into all fours. Hands under the shoulders, knees are under the hips. Now we'll do a full cat-cow. So knees or toes tucked, shoulders back away from the ears. Inhale, lift the chin up, arching the back. Don't overstretch here, work your way up. Big exhale as you draw the core up and in and the back toward the ceiling, pushing the floor away from you through your knees and hands. Big exhales as the back rounds. Always inhaling as we open up. and exhaling on the opposite end of the movement. I wasn't tucking in my chin. Oh my gosh, my necklace is stuck on my eyelashes. Inhale up. One more time. Exhale. From here, let's open up the knees wide for child's pose. Toes touch behind you. Take a seat onto your hips or a seat onto your heels. And then reach the hands forward. Now, with this stretch, we can make it very active, so you feel it even more, yay, by kind of constantly reaching the fingertips, like you're trying to pull your mat or a towel toward you. This constant reaching is going to create a lot more stretch through the lats, through the back. I want you to rest your head down onto the floor. When I do that, you won't be able to hear me very well, so I'm not going to rest my head down, but I want you to rest yours. With every exhale, allow that to be like a weighted blanket, pulling you down toward the floor even more. Inhale again. Make it big and wide, and then exhale. Maybe you shift your hips and shoulders left and right. You can always adjust and open up your knees wider if you're feeling more open the longer you're in this stretch. I love inhaling in this stretch because when I inhale, I can feel my shoulders expand, my rib cage expand, and it really deepens the stretch. Exhale. From here, we're going to come into a down dog. So let's start first in a plank. Hands are under the shoulders. Extend the legs, and you're on the balls of your feet, about hip distance. From here, reach the hips up and back as you push through your hands and push the hands away from you into the floor, opening your chest to the floor, but also thinking about how the chest is kind of coming toward your shins or your thighs. Keeping the arms straight and strong, engaging through the shoulders. You can alternate pressing your heels toward the floor if that's comfortable. I'm not super bendy, I'm not super flexible, so I'm not over stretching here. I'm really just finding a position that feels good. And then with every exhale, I am trying to sink a little bit deeper. So to do that, I'm reaching my hips up while pulling my heels down. So it's almost like I want my hips and heels to move in the opposite direction while my chest opens to the floor even more. One more inhale. Sink those heels down, exhale. Now come into a hand plank position, so shift forward, weight over your hands. You're welcome to drop your knees if you want. And we're coming into a hip opener. So I'm going to bring one leg forward. I'm going to be on my feet. I'm going to open up my hip here. This is one of my favorite stretches. You can find a full instruction of this one on my YouTube. Sometimes I like to circle around, step back, and switch. I'm going to go slow today. You could also speed this up if that is what you're feeling. I am on a slow journey today. We'll do a couple on each side. Also keep in mind the first couple that you do, maybe your foot won't come all the way forward, and maybe your foot won't come all the way forward at all. That's okay. Just bring it as far forward as you can. If it can't come all the way forward, you can always just put your toes down as far as you can. And then when you're here, think about sinking down, but keeping that back leg straight. Again, you can keep your knee on the floor if that's more comfortable. This just feels so good. So good. Front of my hip of the leg that's back, and then I can feel that stretch through the glute and the hamstring of the leg that's forward. I think I'm gonna do 2 more on each side because it feels really good. This feels so good. Today's been a day. Some of you might know me from Tonal. I used to be a coach on Tonal. If you don't know me from Tonal, Tonal is a connected strength machine. I think you might be able to see it on camera. It's what's behind me. I was a coach on that platform for like, I don't know, 5 years. I loved it. I love being on camera. I love teaching on camera, reaching a wider audience. Something I'm so grateful for to have been able to experience, but I miss it. I miss it a lot. So today's one of those days where just feeling nostalgic. I'm not going to call it sad. Yeah, but I miss it. So I thought I'd lead a workout here at home. Let's get back into that down dog. Might not be on a big set, but truly that isn't what made the job amazing. It was being able to lead large groups of people through movement. That brought me a lot of joy. Very grateful for that time. So slowly we're going to bring ourselves to a standing position. Let's walk our feet forward. And a little forward fold. Really drop the head so you can feel a big stretch to the back of the body. Try not to look at the floor or look at your feet, but instead look behind you through your legs. Slowly bring yourself up. I always hate rolling up really slow. I'm so impatient. Slow is like 3 seconds. Okay, now I want to stretch the inside of the legs while also warming up the legs. So let's come to a wide position, toes forward. So wider than your normal squat. We're doing a lateral squat. What I love about a lateral squat is that we stretch and work at the same time. Yay! Let me show you. Squatting onto one leg. So imagine that you want your knee and toe pointed in the same direction as your hips come back. So it's like you're squatting into a chair on one side. Squeeze the glute, quad, and hamstring of the leg as you stand up, and then sit straight into the other side. Same thing. I guarantee when you first stand into this position, you're not going to be wide enough. So do a couple, and if you find that your hip wants to come outside of your knee and ankle, you're not wide enough. Step wider. Plus, the wider you go, the more stretch you're going to get in the adductor. The adductor is at the center of the thigh. Sometimes can contribute to tightness in your squats or in your hinge movements. Might even create some tightness and pain in the knee. Pressing through the heel as you come up, squeezing that glute. The contact with the heel to the floor is going to encourage more glute engagement of the leg that's working. And if you feel crazy, you can go all the way down. Oh my gosh. That's tight. Lots of tightness here. And then use the glute to come back up. Yay, I could do it. At the bottom, I was like, what if I can't get back up? What if? But I did. That side's a lot easier. Left side, a little wonky. You don't have to come all the way down, but this is a variation if you have that range of motion. I'm going to come back to a shorter range of motion for a few more. And then let's go down to our knees for a full adductor stretch. I'm sorry. Okay, let's go. So you'll start in kneeling position. I'm going to face you for this. We're going to pull our knees as wide as we can. As we can. Doesn't need to be super wide. It won't be really wide for me. I am not very bendy. Make sure your ankles have support. So like your ankles are on the pad of your mat. I am going to move my mat back just a little bit so that I have more space for you to see me on camera. Okay. So we're going to slowly scoot one knee out, then the other knee out. One knee out, then the other knee out. 1 millimeter at a time. Oh my gosh. So that we can stretch the inside of the thighs. Now I have 90-degree angles with my knees. From here, I'm going to sit back. I can't sit back that far, and that's okay. It's where we're at. We're going to be okay with that because we have no other choice. Sit the hips back. Oof, and then come forward. So maybe we'll hold for like 5 seconds. Can we? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then come forward. You can also come to your elbows. I'm gonna stay on my hands today. I honestly don't know how much more I can take. Let's do 3 more. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 2 more. Ay, ay, ay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1 more. And then we're gonna go back into those lateral squats because we're just gonna see how this helped. Hopefully it did, or else we would have been in pain for no reason. Okay, slowly bring one knee in at a time, and then bring yourself up into that wide position. Let's try it again and see how we do. A little less tight, a little more open. Let's go for about 10 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. Bring your feet together a little narrower for a normal squat position. So for me, a little wider than the hips, toes slightly turned out. And now I'm gonna drop it low into my squat. So I have quite a bit of mobility in my squat. I can get down pretty low while still being able to stay open. If that's not you, then that's normal, and I would not feel bad about that whatsoever. I would, though, use something in front of you to kind of hold on to. So maybe a heavy dresser, or if you have a tonal, you could hold on to your tonal. Something to help counterbalance you so that you can feel more upright and stable. Because I do want you to get as low as you can, even if you can't hold it on your own. That way we're just introducing the body, the nervous system, to potential range of motion. A lot of the time, if we can't reach a certain range of motion, it's because our body doesn't really know that it exists or that it's able to get there. The more you can show your body that it exists, that it's a possibility, the more comfortable your body will be getting there naturally. So just think about how you're just introducing this intense range of motion, maybe it's intense for you, as a possibility. Maybe you do it once a day, twice a day. This is what I look from the side. Waddling. Okay, I think I'm funny. Chest open, squeeze your shoulder blades together. This is what my spine looks like. I'm trying not to be here. Because when I'm here, I feel a much deeper stretch through my adductors. I'm shifting back and forth. I'm trying to just enjoy the movement. Okay, let's get into a pigeon. I feel like we're finally a little bit warmed up. We're able to get there. A pigeon. Pigeon, I think I want to face this way. Okay. One leg is in front, knee is bent. Bring the heel toward the hip or right in front of the opposite hip of the leg that's back. And then extend and pull yourself back to get the hips flat as you can with the floor. It's not going to be perfect. In fact, I'm pretty tight today, so my hip isn't touching the floor. That's okay. If your hip's not touching the floor, you're welcome to put a pad or a towel underneath your hip to give you more support. Now you can stay here. If you like, you can go a little bit lower. I don't think that this is particularly any more challenging. Sometimes I actually think this feels a little bit less challenging to be able to rest on the elbows, but everybody is different. I'm gonna relax on my elbows today, it just feels good. My wrist is a little bit tight, so I'm gonna lay off of it. Now, just like the child's pose that we did earlier, I find with the exhales, I allow my exhale to feel like a weighted blanket, and I allow it to let me sink deeper into the stretch. We're feeling a stretch through the front glute, or the glute of that front leg, so the leg that's forward. Feeling a stretch through the outer part of that glute, deep into that glute, maybe even a little bit of the hamstring. And then you're gonna feel the front of the hip of the leg that's back. This is another stretch that's important to try not to be in flexion. So to try and pull your shoulders back and open your chest towards your thigh and engage the backside of your body, just be a little bit more intentional about how you're positioning your upper body. Try not to be super relaxed to a point where you're in flexion, because as soon as you're in flexion, which is rounding of the back, you're going to take away a lot of the stretching potential in that glute. So try and keep a nice straight spine as best you can. We'll hold for another little bit here. I'm not keeping count because it's my rules around here and I don't want to. Okay, other side. Come out of that slow. I usually find that the front of the hip of the leg that's back gets such a deep stretch that actually is more tight getting out of it. Okay, so now what I'm doing again is I'm using my hands to kind of position myself so that this hip drops down to the floor. I can feel that hip. And then I'm dropping the hip of the leg that's back down as well. So it's almost like this right side for me, the leg that's forward is coming back and down, and the left side that's back is coming forward and down. So I'm twisting and opening so that my pelvis becomes flat with the floor. Once I'm in that position, I feel comfortable enough to get onto my elbows. And I'm constantly twisting a little bit to draw the left hip down while the right hip is coming down and back. And then I feel the deep stretch through the right glute and the left hip. All while maintaining a straight spine. So in opening up the chest, pushing the floor away from me through the elbows, being intentional and engaged, not being sloppy, please, and thank you. Bring yourself back up. And let's go into a down dog. Now we're feeling, what's the difference? Do we feel any better? Maybe the heels are getting closer to the floor. Pushing the floor away from you through the hands, opening the chest toward the thighs, dropping the heels to the floor as best you can while the hips lift up for another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, coming onto your knees. Now from here, I want to get into just one twist. Knees come wide, toes come to touch. Let's come back into that child's pose, and this time, let's bring one arm underneath, palm comes up, head comes toward the floor. Make sure your shoulder stays down, away from your ear, the one that's on the floor. Try not to let that one shrug, and continue to reach this hand away from you to feel a deep stretch through the back of the shoulder. Other side. Rest your head on the ground. Bring yourself up. And then come to a comfortable seat. We're going to end where we started, with the side stretch first, as kind of like a tool to see how much our mobility has changed. I do already feel energized, by the way. I might actually work out after this, who knows. Hand on the floor, reaching up and over. Today when I was feeling a little bit down, I reached out to some of my closest friends, and so grateful. The people we have around us, our cheerleaders, our supporters that switch sides, our friends really are a big part of who we are. And it's important we have people around us that remind us of our goodness, of our value, of what we contribute to the world. I wish we could remember all of those things by ourselves all the time, but for me at least, it's just not a reality. Let's do that cat-cow. So anyway, it felt really nice to be able to have a group of people I could reach out to for support, for love. We should all have that. We should all be so lucky, so blessed. I'm going to do one more. Cat. And cow. We did it. Yay! Thank you all so much for joining me. I hope you feel better, just like I do, and I hope to see you again here soon.